Hey everyone, welcome to the Collector Chatter podcast. This is episode 15. And as usual, I'm Miguel with my co-host Charlie. And today's episode, we're going to talk about, because this weekend was the premiere and the release of Spider-Man and No Way Home, we felt like we wanted to talk about Spider-Man and just kind of, tell you guys about collecting Spider-Man, anything that has to do with Spider-Man, just because this weekend we wanted to really just harp on the fact that Spider-Man is such an awesome, character, and the movie was amazing. We both watched it. We'll probably go into a little bit of that, but we're not going to do anything with spoilers or anything. We just kind of wanted to touch upon a little bit of what we thought of the movie and just Funko Pops and collectibles for Spider-Man, what we want and that kind of stuff. So we'll do that in the second half of the episode like normal, but we'll kick it off with news like we usually do. And this week we had a pretty decent week with news. So Charlie, if you want to start off with some stuff, I know we had a lot going on when it came to some of the news, but something that caught your eye?
Speaking of Spider-Man, one thing that really caught my eye is Amazon announced that they are going to have a Sinister Six line. So it's going to be like one of those movie scenes where you put them all together like they've done with the Avengers. It's like the bounty hunter ones GameStop is doing right now with for Star Wars. So the first one they showed was Doc Ock. I'm totally all about this. Spider-Man, I'm happy we're talking about today. He is one of my favorite comic book characters of all time. They have a plethora of great characters, especially villains, and I think this is a perfect line to start. My only gripe with it is I want them to make more movie Spider-Man pops. Like, it doesn't just need to be the new MCU ones, which we'll get into later when we talk about Spider-Man, but they always seem to lean just towards the comic book looks. But regardless, they announced that this weekend. I'm really excited for that. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. I'm glad you actually said that. I was going to mention, obviously, we're going to get more in depth into Spider-Man related collectibles, but I do find it interesting that overall the movies don't get as many characters made. It's mostly been the comics, which, I mean, I get it. Spider-Man comic line is enormous. But yeah, this one was super cool. Sinister Six, it is actually 7 characters, so I'm assuming one is going to be Spider-Man, I would think.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, based off of the silhouette. So basically you were able to see the silhouettes of all the different villains. They are the comic style, so like Doc Ock has that like bowl cut, like super funny. But yeah, he was the first one announced. I'm assuming Goblin's going to be in there. There's a few that you can tell right away, and then there's a couple that are a little tougher because it is just like a silhouette, but it is cool that it's built out. I do like this. I think it makes sense for this because there's, like you said, so many iconic villains that are in that universe that I think it's a pretty cool thing. Yeah, that's something that I saw for sure. It's something that you're gonna need room for because it's best displayed out of box, I would say, for sure, like building it just like the bounty hunter ones and that kind of thing, because the boxes are so big when it comes to those, and I feel like they're big, unnecessarily big. They could definitely make the boxes smaller. But yeah, I did see that. That was pretty cool. Another Spider-Man thing. So I guess we'll start off with a couple of the Spider-Man news stuff and then go into the rest. But another one was they announced the 10-inch Spider-Man pop, which is from the new movie. I believe I don't know for sure, but I believe it's the same mold as the standard one that they have, the integrated suit, right?
It's identical to this.
Yeah, they just made it into a 10-inch form, which it seems pretty cool. They came out the black and gold suit, which I grabbed that one as a 10-inch. Probably won't grab this one because I already grabbed that one, but it is a pretty cool one. I know you were pretty excited for that one just because of being a Spider-Man fan.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to pick it up. I do try to. There's just so many Spider-Man pops. I don't have them all, but it's a collection. I do try to like get a decent amount of them. So I'm definitely excited. And I really like the 10-inch pops, and I like that it's the black and gold one. He's in like a certain pose. So this one, it's different. It's not like it's like the exact same thing. So I'm excited for that.
And he's on that stand too, right? I think it'll probably be the first time a 10-inch comes with a stand like that.
You're right. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that'd be kind of cool to see that acrylic stand a little bit bigger for the 10-inch pop. But yeah, that was a pretty cool one. Another, I guess, kind of almost Spider-Man related was the free comic book day. So they announced that one of the ones is going to be a Venom Lethal Protector comic pop. So if you guys haven't seen the comic covers, Funko has made these comic cover pops, which now at this point they probably have maybe like 6 or so either announced or at least released of these. We've talked about like the WandaVision ones that were announced before, and now this one is part of this. So I saw it quick, but I didn't look too much into the details. Do you know what the day was and exactly how this works?
Yeah, so it's going to be one of like the PX exclusives, so it's only going to be at like comic book shops. It
Hmm.
seems to like GameStop gets them, and you can sometimes find them on Amazon as well. But they haven't showed like I don't think an image of it has leaked.
Yeah.
But it's going to be in celebration of Free Comic Book Day, which is a little bit of ways away. So
Yeah.
um, they announced it kind of early, but I think it's awesome. I'm gonna have to pick this up.
Yeah.
I've tried to get all of these so far, and another one was actually just announced, the Monica Rambeau one, which is
Yep.
continuously going along with the WandaVision line. It was when it says Captain Marvel. I think it's pretty cool. I find it interesting
Yeah.
that's what they started the Marvel line with.
Yeah.
But they're still pretty cool.
Yeah, I know we had talked about, because the first one they released was the Superman one, Action Comic, and then Batman was supposed to be number two, and that's kind of been shelved, and we're figuring out what's going on with that
Yeah,
because it kind of canceled everybody. I haven't seen it anywhere at all, so we're still kind of wondering what's the delay is with that. But then we noticed they switched over to Marvel, and they started the lines off over again, like the number one
yeah,
started over again for Wanda and for Vision. So it was interesting that that's who they chose. Like you said, I mean, they totally could have went with Iron Man, Spider-Man. Like there's other, you would think, more popular, I
yeah.
guess, characters, but they're going with that line. And now, yeah, the new one, that one they do have a glam shot of, so we were able to see it. The Venom one's still waiting to see what it'll look like. I'm sure it's going to be something pretty cool though. It seems like it'll be. I love the line. It's cool. It's similar to the albums for me, where I see a lot of people being like, "Oh, this is super cool," but then there's a lot of people that are kind of against it. They don't like the size of it, etc. But I like the whole concept of it, especially it being the cover, the actual artwork
Yeah, I
of
think it's
the
really
actual
cool.
comic.
I feel like we're gonna get more and more stuff like this from Funko. It seems to be working for them. And the one thing I've definitely liked so far about these is, I mean, the pops are pretty much original for the comic book covers. They're not reusing
Yeah.
pops, which I like.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, with all of them so far, I think that I've
Yeah,
seen, they're pretty much all. So that's actually a good thing. We like seeing that rather than obviously recycling the same figure and putting it in a different box, basically at that point. But yeah, that was something cool. Another thing, kind of along the lines of Sinister Six, similar, was another kind of moments was Amazon's Duel of the
oh
Fates,
yeah,
Star Wars.
I'm pumped for that.
Yeah, I knew you would definitely love that one. Darth Maul being the first one that they released. So the's gonna be three, I believe, right?
Yeah,
In
it's
that
going to
set.
be Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn. It's probably one of the
Okay.
most iconic scenes from the prequels. Yeah, I remember seeing that as a kid, and
Hmm.
I mean, to me, that's one of my favorite scenes of all time in Star Wars, and it's a perfect for one of these moments. Like I said, like obviously they're really milking these moments as well, but I do. It's kind of cool being able. I know it benefits them. You could have just made this into one big movie moment,
I
but
was gonna just say that.
they're making you buy three pops instead of one. But I do feel like they're a little more detailed this way
Okay.
than when they were making just the movie moments together. And you don't, if you're don't want to complete the whole thing, you don't have to. It doesn't necessarily look weird. Like you can just get the Darth Maul one or the Qui-Gon. And the one thing I'm pumped, there is not an Obi-Wan Kenobi Funko Pop from episode one. They have not
Oh,
made
okay.
one of him of that point in of the character's journey. So to me, I feel like that's going to be a pretty big deal. And they'll
Yeah.
probably then ultimately reuse that mold and come out with a pop of him from episode one, but I don't really care.
Yeah. No, that is cool. It looks pretty sick. I mean, Darth Maul is obviously an awesome character in pop form anyway.
Yeah.
So the fact that he was one of the first ones they announced, it does look like something that you could, now if you took it out of box, maybe it would seem a little off because it probably has a little notch or something
Yeah.
that the other ones are going to connect to. But as an inbox pop, it definitely could just stand alone. It would be interesting to see exactly what the other two will look like the actual pictures of the molds. But I thought that was a pretty cool one. It's interesting to see like that kind of moment with just three, where we've been used to seeing ones with like six and seven,
Yeah.
bigger pieces. But it seems like Star Wars has a ton of opportunities with all the different movies and shows and everything that they have to do these kind of things, because they have a lot of these scenes where they can, kind of build this out too. So, but right away I thought the same thing. I was like, this is obviously like a movie moment where it could have just been a movie moment, but they seem to be very, not many movie moments come out anymore. They seem like they kind of stay
They're
away
done with
from that
that. I don't think
versus, yeah, the way they
yeah,
used to.
they must not have done well. I mean, I liked them. I mean, I got select views. I did get a bunch, I guess, though, with like the Smuggler's Bounty box. A few of them came in that
Yeah.
when that was still around. I think Star Wars lends well to them over some of the other movie moments that they were making, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. That could have been why they maybe just weren't getting enough back on them or enough of them selling that they just felt like they didn't make any sense. But yeah, it's interesting because I thought they look cool. They definitely are an awesome piece. Like I think I only have one or maybe two. I have one and it's like up here somewhere and I've said it before, it's the Iron Man and Whiplash like scene,
Yep.
but it came in that Marvel collectible box, I think one of those. And that was pretty much the only time. I've never actually gone out and bought one, like just because I liked it. Even like deluxe pops and stuff, I usually try to stay away. 10 inches is pretty the only one I'll like go after. But yeah, that was still a pretty cool one. We had a bunch of stuff coming out through Target as well, as we normally do. So some drops were the artist series came out again. So the artist series Riddler was announced, which I know we are so over artist series. And we talked about, I believe last week was when they announced the Mr. Freeze and the Catwoman. So now we got Riddler, which means we're probably going to get Penguin next. So it seems like we're getting that line of the movie villains. They look crazy. I don't know. They look terrible.
They're terrible.
The only thing I like about this, and I don't even want to say I like it, but the only thing about this that I thought was like interesting is that his like glasses, goggles that he has on were like a little bit of a different color and they like stood out.
This is the best one.
It didn't have all the art, whatever on them, which was a pretty cool little piece. Like I was like, all right, that's cool. And then the box actually has like the name of Batman Returns, I think is where he was in, right? They have that logo with the little question mark for Riddler. I thought that logo was pretty cool, the box. The actual pop though, and the fact of like how they're just splattering a logo, like that reoccurring logo all over them is just
even too, like which we'll go into, the Ninja Turtles line that they've been dropping. The new one that they dropped this week actually wasn't part of the artist series. The final one was a diamond shredder, which had, leaked a little bit before. It was a bundle, a T bundle. I actually tried to get that sold out like basically in a matter of seconds. So all the other ones within the series that Target was dropping every week are still chilling on, you can still get them very easily. I actually was someone who I said in the past, I kind of liked them. I got a few of them in. They're garbage. Their paint jobs, in my opinion, were terrible. I sent them back to Target. I returned them.
And I remember you saying
I canceled all the other orders for the ones that I didn't get. I got the Donatello and Michelangelo one. They really just look, I mean, we all know these are mass produced, but they don't even take the decency of like Michelangelo's face was like smack in the center of like the art piece, and it was half of it was off, like it was missing the paint, and it just looks so bad. And then to top it all off, they come in the stacks, which they make for the artist series, which aren't as good as the normal ones that you buy standalone. They all came cracked.
Yeah,
it's like, okay, because you're definitely paying for that too. It's just, I was so disappointed. I know Migs never liked them. I should have just known that this wasn't going to be good.
It was one of those things that I didn't like the way that they looked, but you never know. Some stuff in glam shots and pictures looks completely different in person, and sometimes you see it in person, you're like, wow, this actually looks better. So like you took a shot at hoping that's what was going to happen, and it didn't. But it was interesting. You didn't bring up the Shredder one. The Shredder one was cool. I actually forgot that it was going to drop, and I didn't even try to go on. But yeah, it sold out right away. I have two, like, I think there's two reasons for that. One, it was different. It was more like a black glitter, I guess you can call it, like look, which was pretty interesting. It was pretty cool. It's a little bit better. You don't really see that often, so I thought that made it kind of cool. Shredder's a pretty cool figure in general. He's usually pretty popular, so that kind of added to the hype. But I think the fact that it was a Pop T bundle also added to it, because the Pop T bundles have been super hot right now, and I think that's like one of the bigger things. Like they usually go up crazy in value, they usually sell out really fast. Obviously the blacklight ones have been a big reason for that, but I think that that's probably partially a reason why, because for that price you're still getting a pretty cool t-shirt out of it, that kind of thing. So it was an interesting one. If you guys didn't see it, it's like I said, it's like a black glitter version, but it was basically the last one in that run that they've been doing every Friday, I think now, with those first turtles, and then they did Splinter. And then this time was the Shredder. So that actually dropped. And There was also a couple announcements through Funko with Hawkeye Pops. So we had a new Elena Pop with, which I like this because it has the chase. So we've talked about this before where it comes to like, it seems like they're not doing so many pops with chases as often as, they may have done before. And I like this because it's a really cool
It's
chase,
awesome.
completely different. She's in her full, outfit, like all black stealth out, and then she's like normal is the common. So like that is cool. It's not just like her with one little difference or a different pose. It's literally a different scene, different moment in the show. If you guys haven't watched it, definitely check it out. But I thought that was pretty cool. Did you like that one?
I loved it. I mean, and I feel like though it's something I'm gonna have to buy on like secondhand market because I don't know, like I still haven't been able to get the Bo-Katan chase from the Mandalorian line. I legitimately bought 6 from Amazon and like didn't get, and they're all just common. So it's just, I don't know. I know they say it's 1 in 6, but I feel like that, I mean, that only really works, I guess, if it's from that one,
One
case. But
case.
if that even is a thing anymore, I don't know. I've never really had luck. The only time I ever got a chase randomly was when I ordered the 89 Batman from Funko. Chase wasn't even on my radar. When I opened them, I'm like, oh my God, I got the chase.
Yeah.
But I do love it. And I, like you said, it's a completely different, I mean, the chase is way better in my opinion. Like that's the one like, I don't normally think the chase is better sometimes, but like this is definitely one I think people are going to want.
Yeah. And I feel like the value is probably going to be pretty good on that because she's obviously a very popular character. She's, popular from beforehand. I was in Black Widow and that kind of stuff. And then everyone was really hyped for her to be in Hawkeye. So I know that reveal and everything was a big deal. I'm assuming because of that and the build up to it, that one their pop of her from Black Widow is like a crazy grail right now. It's like $90 PPG.
Which
it's like crazy to grab, and you would never think that. So it makes it interesting because usually chases, for the most part, hold better value, but it's going to be interesting to see.
Which I know I've told you, but to let everyone else know, like I got that pop for free from the Disney Insiders like club, which essentially is you get points whether you buy movies, this and that, and it was on there like now almost a year ago probably. I felt like when they put the pops on there, they're trying to get rid of them. No one really wanted them. And I was like, what? I can get it for free. Why not? I got that. And I got the Natasha one in the white suit from there. And they both have pretty decent value. So I'm pretty happy about that.
And there's other versions of them, and they're like, no, they have no value. It was only those specific two. Like the Natasha, there's another one of her from the movie, and it's I think I actually have that one. It's like kind of common. I think she was also part of one of the Marvel Collecticore boxes. Those really don't have much value either. So it's interesting which ones like end up getting value and don't. But so that was pretty cool. We also had this was something I grabbed. It was the Biggie. So they dropped the Notorious B.I.G. gold. So the gold line that we've spoken about before, they dropped a gold version of Notorious B.I.G. I did grab it just because it's a 3,000 piece limited edition one. And it sold pretty fast. I mean, maybe because it was only 3,000 pieces, maybe because it was the hype, who knows, flippers, I don't know. But I grabbed one and I was like, you know what, I have the rest of them. I like most of the Notorious B.I.G. stuff except for the crazy grails out there. I have that for the most part, including the gold line, even the pop album Biggie I have, the 10-inch, all that kind of stuff. So I was like, you know what, I'll grab it. But it was something I saw kind of mix of, some people were like really not liking it, but like I said, it sold within like, I think 10 minutes.
It has the limited sticker. It's like
and it has a limited sticker.
I mean, I've seen a lot of people in the community who even, have YouTube channels. They're not about the gold line. And some of them were shocked that like this sold out like immediately. I think it's all about the piece count.
Yeah, it had to be. Obviously, one, there's not as many, so they could sell faster. But the fact that it had the sticker and it is limited. So I guess we'll see what that value is going to look like because I have one coming. So actually, funny thing about that is this is the very first time ever, I'm talking about ever in the last 3 years plus that I have purchased something through Funko because it was through Funko Shop. And I got an email saying that my shipment is being delayed. So I've never seen this ever. Like I don't go, they come pretty, I mean, Funko stuff usually coming from the West Coast, so if it takes a little while to get to us most of the time, anyways. So I generally take a week, a little after to see, and then it'll come in orders for Funko, whatever. But yeah, I just noticed I had an email and I saw it and it was like your order's late, and even in the email it just said your order's late, blah blah, view order, and then when you would do that, it would bring you to the screen of like where you purchased it, and I noticed it was the biggie, it's the biggie one. So I'm like, I'm hoping it gets to me now. Like maybe hopefully they didn't sell out more than they actually had, and then we'll see if that's going to be a problem.
Suck.
Yeah, so we'll see. But that was the first time I've ever seen that. It didn't give you a date or anything. It just gave you this thing saying like it's being delayed or whatever. So I guess we'll hopefully get that. We also had, speaking of Funko, so another Funko drop. It was another Funko Shop exclusive. We usually get about 1 or 2 a week anyways, and this time it was the Rocky. So they released a Rocky line, which was the 40th year anniversary, I think, line, right?
Yep.
So it's like an anniversary line. They have a Rocky, they have an Apollo Creed. There's a specialty series Rocky, which I think is pretty cool. Is him with the belt, like the old like belt that he has. So that one was really cool. But this time they dropped the one where he's in like a sweatsuit outfit and he's holding on to the chicken, which we both like it. We're big Rocky fans. We said it. We just kind of were a little hesitant, like, should we grab it? Should we not? Or whatever. And then you were looking, I think, at it or whatever through Funko, through the app or whatever. And is it still there?
Yeah, it says his PPG value is $90 before it even dropped, which I don't understand.
Yeah, it makes no sense. You were telling me, and I was like, did it sell out? And I go and check, and I was like, no, it's still up.
It's still there.
Sold out. Unless the thing with PPG value is so weird. Yeah, double check on that. But I know that some stuff gets fluctuated because it kind of goes off of like items that get sold. So
it went down to 85.
Oh, there you go. Well, it's maybe a couple sold for cheaper and they dropped it down. But sometimes, a lot of times, things will get sold that are like autographed. Like, just so you guys know, the 2-pack Brian and Mike, right? Yeah.
Yep.
The Fun Days 2-pack. There was a few that sold at an auction for like $700, and they were autographed by them. Cool, you get both their autographs, whatever. And then a few other ones sold for 300, for whatever. So they were selling for like these high values. So that brought it, and that one is still there. That one brought up to $390. I think it's like $390.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
PPG, and it's still at that PPG. And some people don't get it. They're like, oh my God, I have this girl, I'm going to sell it and whatever. But like, don't be scammed out there. If you're looking for this pop for whatever reason, this is like a $20 pop. Don't pay $300 because
it's at $390 right now.
Yeah, $390, which is insane. And it's been sitting there for a while. I'm surprised it hasn't gone down because it's already known. Like, if you go onto an actual Pop Price Guide website, you'll see the sales of the autograph version, which are the ones that are 700 plus. But the Funko app doesn't differentiate with them. This happens a lot of times with the Funko app. It doesn't really differentiate like a couple different sub variants or different versions. So it kind of gives you that one general price, and it's usually like that average or whatever. So that's why it's at that price. So don't pay that price.
Yeah, even like talking about PPG though, where it just doesn't make sense sometimes, like the Iron Man 18-inch, which me and Migs are obviously huge fans of. You can still buy that at Funko, but they're saying right now it's worth $170. I just like it makes no sense to me at all.
Yeah, and like someone must be overpaying for it because they want it, not knowing that they can get it through Funko still. I don't know. That's going. Like, when something sells out, whatever, the value is going to be what it's going to be. You don't know what it's selling for. That makes sense. But when something's still retail, especially retail through the actual like Funko main website, it's not even like a secondary site. It's a little weird that happens. But yeah, the one with the Rocky one made no sense. So I have no idea what's going on with that. So definitely, if you want it, grab it from Funko, because Funko has it $15, the normal, Funko Shop exclusive price for a pop. But it's interesting that we brought that up because I did want to talk about this because this is kind of a news related thing. It's not a drop, but it is a news related thing, and it's about the Funko app. So the actual Funko app did update. So if you guys use the Funko app, I use it mostly because obviously to see value and see PPG, it is good to kind of gauge that. I don't go, that's not like my Bible, like this is the one and only thing, but I do use it once in a while. But it's mostly to keep my collection in there, to know like, what do I have in my collection? Do I have this already? Do I not? That kind of thing. And they did do an update. I like it. It took me a little while because it was very different. I hate when things change because then you're like so used to always seeing certain things. but it seems like there's a few new options. There's a couple new links that you can go to. They have things that are coming out, stuff that was recently announced. Now you can see on there, so they'll usually like kind of separate that. Then you still have your normal, like your own collection that you have in there. You can build. I actually found this out for the first time probably like a month ago, that you can make your own lists in there. Did you know that?
That's though a pretty new feature.
Yeah,
That was like the
so I
last
do that for my
update.
sodas. I do that for my sodas, and I never knew I could do that. So I was like, dude, this is awesome. So I have to do it for all of them, but I started doing that because I want to separate
Me too. It's
those
cool.
so that I can see like how many I have and that kind of thing. So it's a good way to kind of keep your collection under one thing. So like, especially when a collection gets really big into the hundreds and thousand, pops and stuff, that sometimes you don't remember if you have one or if you don't. So it's good to kind of look back at that. And then of course it does give you, like I said, a pretty good gauge on value for the most part. You just don't want to like live and die by that, because it could be less or more, but it'll at least give you an idea of kind of like what value is. And then we had some NFTs. So we got a
Yes,
new
we did.
NFT announcement, right? So Bob Ross is the new NFT. So I know we've talked about this a lot. For the most part, the last few we've kind of gone after. Charlie's been a lot luckier. He's actually got redeemable pops and a soda, at least for the last two drops. So this one is a Bob Ross one. I think they look pretty cool. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. If I get in quick and I can get a premium pack, I think I'll get it. If not, I probably just won't get it, because I feel like when I've gotten the standard ones, they have been no bueno for me. But December 21st, 2 p.m. Eastern is the drop. So 11 a.m. on the West Coast for that. And I'm assuming you're going to try to go after those.
Yeah, right? I just got to keep the luck going. I mean, I find them fun. I do enjoy them. I'm getting more into NFTs, and I just love that Funko's making them now. I do go back and forth, and I mentioned before, like, do I only really go after the ones that I like? I mean, the Bob Ross one doesn't really hold any special place in my heart. I do think they look cool. But I think I'm going to try to get them. But I agree with you. Like, I'm only going to try for premium packs now. I luckily have been able to get them, but that's the way to go if you'll want to try to get a redeemable. I know I've seen people get them in the single packs, but your odds are, I think, much more slim.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. It seems like that's more for you to just collect. Like if you just want to collect and get the collection, build the collection up, then you get multiple of those, like, single packs and stuff. But yeah, I'll probably pass on it just because it's not like one that I'm like, wow, that's an awesome character. But I think it's cool. The Bob Ross, the pops that they have, one of like the white, and he's all like splattered in paint. Like that one looks really cool. There's a few that they look cool. Like if you
The
get the
Freddy
actual
Funko
pop,
one's really cool.
I was gonna say the Freddy Funko one is probably the best one, and it seems like with every pack there is a Freddy version now. It seems like that's kind of like the recurring thing, regardless of what the theme is or what the actual character is, they're throwing in a Freddy kind of version. And it's going to be interesting because Freddy's are pops that can obviously have insane value, but then there's some Freddy's that are pretty standard, like with no value.
Yeah.
I think these, because they're very limited and they're at least, first are hard to get because you got to pull them through this and
even though
thing.
With this though, the Freddy, when it was the Halloween Freddy, obviously this didn't apply because they all were Freddy's, but for like the Star Trek one, and now for this, and then for I believe the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, it's part of the royalty collection. So the only way you don't actually pull this one. You need to complete the entire set.
Oh, so that's what that one is.
That's the only way you can get the Freddy ones. And you don't need any of the what they call the grails or the legendaries, which they are the redeemables. You need all the way from common, like uncommon, all the way up to the epics. That's how you get those. So that's where the single packs come in. Like I don't see myself ever being able to get these because I'm not going onto the marketplace and trying to complete the collection and buy them off of other people. But I've seen people who are doing that. But so that does probably make them even a little bit more valuable.
Yeah, and you do have to do that because if you guys haven't gotten any of these NFTs or known how the process is, they only limits you to $60 as a purchase. So that's either 2 of the premium packs or 6 individual packs. And that means the most you can get is 6 individual with 5 cards, I think it is per. So you're looking at 30 total cards, and there's definitely more than that. So the only way you're really going to get completing and getting all these, because sometimes you're getting duplicates and stuff, is you have to go into whatever marketplace there may be and then trying to buy them off of people and whatever. And at that point, I'm like, no, that's not something I'm trying to do regardless. Like I'm doing it more like doing the lottery. Like I'm just putting in a couple bucks, hoping that my bet hits and I get something big. That's all I'm doing it as. That's the only reason why I did the other ones. But yeah, I'm not in it for like the pure joy of collecting NFTs and trying to get these crazy collections out of it. But yeah, that's the only reason for me. Last thing I just wanted to mention is something. So our episode drops on Monday. So Monday on Funko, they're gonna have a hidden gem section. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah,
So
I did see that.
So it's gonna be interesting. I don't know exactly what that pertains, like what's gonna be, but look out for that on the Funko site. I don't know if there's a certain time or just throughout the day or what they're gonna do. But they're supposed to have something that's gonna be under hidden gems. So I guess it could be something completely trash. It could just be something trying to get rid of and dump out, or it could be some pretty cool stuff, right?
From what I've read about, and I guess I did this last year, which I just don't remember, is they're basically found stock of exclusives, whether they're Funko Shop exclusives or retail exclusives. So that's really what it is. So it could ultimately be something you missed out on and you want, like, for all you know, like Blacklight Hulk could be there, or like Ghost Rider, which would probably hurt the value of them, and who knows if they'll be that good of ones, but that's what I think it's being advertised as. So
that'd be cool.
Look out for that.
Because it's interesting that you said that about the retail and stuff too, because I've been on, because once in a while I'll go through Funko and I'll go to the back in stock like category, and you'll see some actual like Target exclusives or like whatever, and Funko will sell them, which is interesting because normally they don't. It's mostly just straight to the retailer.
I sometimes wonder, it's like, did they find them in a back room, stock room that they never sent to the retailers when they sell them? Because I mean, if you click on the Funko exclusive tab on the website, like there's store exclusives there all the time. You don't realize it. You just think it's a Funko store exclusive, but it's not.
It's interesting. But yeah, so that was the news for the week. Pretty good news week for some drops, some announcements. So I'm pretty excited for that. But we wanted to get into the rest of this episode, which we are going to be talking about Spider-Man. So for those of you who've been living under a rock, Spider-Man No Way Home just released over this past weekend, released on Thursday, and over the weekend. Charlie went and saw it when it released. I went Sunday to see it. So we're both fresh off of the hype and everything with that movie. I thought it was amazing. But like we said, we just kind of wanted to be a celebration of Spider-Man. He's a favorite of both of ours. Like I absolutely love Spider-Man, and you said you do as well. When it comes to Marvel, like I'm a big DC fan, but when it comes to Marvel, I have a few characters I really, really like, and Spider-Man has always been one of them. But yeah, when it comes to collecting and Funko and stuff, it's an interesting one because I wanted to get into, like, we kind of touched on it earlier when it comes to what pops they make or what pops they don't make and that kind of thing. And I did find it overwhelmingly that it was one of two things. You were either getting the comic book, comic style from, some certain comic book version, or you're probably getting an MCU Tom Holland. It seems like those are the two most that they make. We've talked about Marvel. We had an whole episode on Marvel and the fact of how the MCU blew up with Funko Marvel versus just the comics because there's so many movies and shows and they have so many characters and it's so popular and it gets people that are outside of your general, comic book nerd to watch these movies. They also start getting these collectibles. Because I found it interesting that in movie terms, there's three Spider-Mans, right? We have Tom Holland, who's the newest one. We have Andrew Garfield, and we have Tobey Maguire. They don't make Tobey Maguire pops
at all.
They never have. They never did any of those movies. I don't know if that's because the hype of everything with Funko was kind of after that or not, because the Andrew Garfield they do make. And the Andrew Garfield ones are pretty low in the Marvel numbers. They're like in the 40s, I want to say.
Yeah, and they barely make any. They made...
I think they make 2 or 3, but they're super crazy grails.
I know.
So they make the Amazing Spider-Man, then they have the Amazing Spider-Man 2. So they actually make one for each of his movies. I did see that. They have like a metallic version. I think they have like a black and gray one, maybe. And yeah, we're talking $5,000-$6,000 pops, $2,000 pops. Like their values are insane for those, which makes you think that if there was a Toby one, I know for sure it would have been insane. But even after the fact, they've kind of gone back to some of the comic style, and then they've obviously milked the hell out of Tom Holland's version. But what do you think? Like, what do you think about that? Like, it's kind of interesting because,
Yeah.
and I'm talking about just Spider-Man, not even just the side characters.
Well,
Like, we're talking about just him.
That's what really bothers me as a huge fan. And we've kind of talked about this in our episodes before about like, should Funko be going like back in time to like looking at old franchises that are like still current, not just like cult classics. I think they are doing a huge disjustice of not doing that. Like, it drives me insane that there is not a Tobey Maguire Funko Pop. Yes, we have the Andrew Garfield one, and I know we're just talking, but let's go to side characters too. I want to bring up because there's only the Electro villain, the ugly blue one of Jamie Foxx from Amazing Spider-Man 2. They never made any of the
Do
other.
they even have that? I don't even ever seen that one.
They do. That's a Grail too. They make two. They make a standard one and a glow in the dark one, but like that's all they made. And I don't understand why they haven't made any. Like, where's the Gwen Stacy pop? Like, why don't we have that? Like,
Yeah.
if they were I guess that's when they were really making their line small, but like 2 pops for a huge movie, like that was huge still at the time. I don't get it. It really drives me insane, and I really want them to go back, and I really think they should. Like, I know we're living in the MCU world now, but people still love the original Spider-Man's. Like, they've made the original X-Men movie pops. They went back and made those. Like, why not do that for the Spider-Mans? And quite frankly, you don't even need the rights to. I know we've talked in the past, like how Joaquin Phoenix or Tom Cruise don't want their faces on a figure. I mean, Spider-Man wears a mask. I know there's tons of unmasked versions, which I would like both, but the suits are all different. Even Tobey Maguire's version, he had a different suit for every movie, even if it was a subtle change. Like, I can go on. I'm very passionate about this. One of the reasons I really want to do this episode, because as a huge movie fan, they just don't have enough Funko Pops for Spider-Man. And even with the MCU ones, I think they've done not the best job of, making a diverse line. There's just way too many random ones of Tom Holland as Spider-Man, where, in the Homecoming, Vulture wasn't the only villain. Shockwave was in it, and so was Scorpion. There are no pops of them. They made mystery minis of them, which drives me crazy that you made it that, but not in your biggest line. And yeah, I just think they haven't done the best job with the Spider-Man movies. They've definitely made every villain possible in the comic book form, especially when they came out that 80th anniversary, because obviously the Amazing Spider-Man's an OG Marvel comic. But yeah, sorry, I don't want to go on a tangent. I think they could do I think they could do way better, and the fans would want them.
Yeah, I think it's just such a like the character is just so big. Like, Spider-Man is so known. Like, so many people know who he is, regardless whether it's the comic or the movie. Like, he's very popular. So even though MCU at this point and that version of him is probably a lot more popular because they got so many other people into it and kids and that kind of thing, like the original one is still a very popular, because like the way I like, we always had superhero movies from back in the day. We had Superman, we had Batman, we had all those. But me growing up, so I'm like a late 80s baby. So growing up, still to this day, I always remember, like, when I think of the first like superhero movie, I think of the original Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that like kicked off like where superhero movies started really getting popular and blowing up and whatever, and going forward with franchises. And that's regardless of Marvel or DC. That's just kind of like, I feel like that's kind of like a big start to it. So for them not to have it, it doesn't make sense of like, because the movie's a certain year old, because we're like, I just said Batman, right? The 1989 Batman came out before Spider-Man came out, and they have dropped the Batman, the Jokers, they've done villains, they've done all those. So like, they could definitely do that. They can call back to it. It doesn't mean that you have to drop it just because it's hot and it's what's going on now. I think that's the only thing I dislike with what they do with Marvel is that they're so big on like what's right now and like flooding you with these shows and these movies that, you know, Marvel's already doing that and you're enjoying the content, but then they're just piling on all these collectibles to it. And I think that's why we kind of get into this, like, what do I collect or what do I not collect? Because there's so many where they can kind of drop stuff as they do, but then call back to some of these old things and release these ones that I think would end up being grails and stuff. And yeah, the original Spider-Man is one of them that was interesting. I had forgotten about the Amazing Spider-Man pops, but when I remembered those pops, I forgot they were from Amazing Spider-Man. I thought they were the comic ones because I know that they exist. I know there's a metallic one. There's one from Japan. Like there's these very, very grail pops that are Spider-Man. They're from Amazing Spider-Man. And I thought that was weird because if I'm not mistaken, I like all the Spider-Mans. I love the Andrew Garfields, but I feel like the Tobey Maguire one's probably more popular than the Andrew Garfield one, though.
Totally.
Like franchise wise, you would think, right?
I mean,
that's
that
how like
franchise,
the main thing, right?
And like weirdly enough, I love Andrew Garfield, but those two movies in the franchise legitimately killed it. And that's, I mean, I know a lot about movies, and for those who don't know, that kind of made Kevin Feige, who runs Marvel Studios, went over to Amy Pascal at Sony and was like, hey, you know, she wanted him to make the movie for them. And he was like, no, if you're going to have my help, I'm not going to just give you notes. You're going to let me take the character and bring it over to MCU and we'll just produce it together. And just like that, obviously Spider-Man, you know, the Tom Holland ones, as we know, are very popular and people want the connectivity. And now talking about this out loud, the reason they may not have gone back and made the Tobey Maguire ones is because Disney doesn't own those movies. And weirdly enough, though, they own Spider-Man merchandise. Like anytime, like when Into the Spider-Verse, for example, that's a Sony animated movie, has nothing to do with Marvel Studios or Disney, but all the toys, Disney gets all the money for that because they own that part of it, the merchandise, but they didn't own it for those movies at that time. So now I'm talking out loud. That's probably why they've never gone back to them, because it doesn't help them at all. And Funko probably doesn't want to piss them off because it's definitely one of their biggest licensees. So
yeah,
hopefully that changes.
But that's probably what it is. I mean, every time we have these like you know, debates and these talks, it's always like is it the license and everything? Like it seems like that's probably the go-to because we don't know all the ins and outs, but like it's obviously a complicated thing because it's not just a clear, I don't want to do this because it's not going to be good. Like it's clearly it would be amazing. But you talking out loud now got me thinking when it comes to Sony is like they have some kind of licensing with Sony in general, but maybe not specific character, because look at Venom.
Yeah.
So Venom is the same kind of thing. Venom is under Sony essentially, even though it's a Marvel character when it comes to movies. And they went crazy with pops when it came to Venom, whether it was the Venom movie, the second movie with Carnage,
but Disney makes
and then the
money
Venomized versions, and they just went crazy. Yeah, Disney's making money off of that. But like when it comes to Funko, like does Funko not have the rights to do that? Is Funko like limited to like what they can pick and choose and who they can use? Or is there a contract that once the MCU blew up and Tom Holland's version and Spider-Man and these trilogy movies that just came out, like that they have to just go with that and they can't even, because they went back to the 80 years, right? There's a Spider-Man from 80 years. So there was the original one there. But other than that, there's not many other Spider-Man pops that have come out unless it was a Tom Holland actual MCU one, correct?
No. Yeah, there's been a lot of random like ones that are either kind of like made up because they're kind of making them fit into a line, or some older comic booky type ones, which always seem to be Walgreens exclusives. I don't know why, but there hasn't been that many. Yeah,
it's weird. It's just like it makes you really think like, why do they do this or why do they do this or whatever? But like, yeah, I think they could totally do that. They've made a ton of villains, but they haven't done necessarily all the movie ones. Like I even have hanging up over here, I have Rhino, which was in, I think, a collector core box.
Yep.
Which I don't remember which one that was part of.
I think it was part of the 80th anniversary one because they made most of the Spider-Man villains from that. So there's a Vulture.
So those villains
one.
Were part of that, but they were the comic ones. Correct. So they used all the comic ones. So even though obviously he was in the movie in the Andrew Garfield ones. They didn't use him, like you said. They did Electro, but yeah, the fact that they haven't done the original ones is it's just crazy to me. And like you said, the suits are completely different
Yeah.
from Andrew to Toby and Tom. They all have different suits. And then within their movies, they have different suits. We've seen that with Tom. They go crazy, you know, the different integrated suits, the Iron Spider-Man, like all the different versions.
Everything.
They've done those. So the OG, like super blue, red Spider-Man that you think of, like Toby has his version too. And yeah, we didn't get that. We didn't get, there's villains in his, obviously. Dr. Octavius would be from the movie, would be a huge one. The Green Goblin from the movie, because we have those comic style. And like we talked about before, Sinister Six is going to be coming out in that animated version, like the ones that do
drastically different, especially the Green Goblin. Like you would know this is the movie version. The Doc Ock, like you could tell it's a movie version, but it'll probably look somewhat similar. But
yeah, his isn't as much. Yeah, Green Goblin completely different.
We have Sandman. We have like they never made a black suit Spider-Man from, or like even obviously they have Venom Pops, and no one really likes Topher Grace, Eddie Brock from Spider-Man 3, but you still could have made it when the symbiote comes on to, you know, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. There's a black suit Spider-Man. Like there's just so many. And like I want to marry Jane Pop, like, and a Gwen Stacy. Like, why do they not have those? Like, it's just crazy. I mean, and they went to town on. I love the video games, but like they went to town on making
they went with too.
All like, but not the movies.
All the Miles Moraleses and all that too.
Just wait for every suit that you got to, you know, get the DLC for in that game. You get the pop for it. It's insane.
Yeah, that's a miss for sure. Those are ones that like are the obvious, like we need these. And like if you are new into collecting and new into Funko, you may have not even noticed that they didn't have these. Like it's crazy to think that. I just feel like we actually, it's funny because we mentioned at one point we mentioned Batman when we talked about DC. Remember that episode we were talking about DC? And we talked about how there's so many different Batmans. Like there's different versions of him, different actors played him. And I believe there's a pop for every version now at this point.
Now there
at least one of every actor as Batman. And there's only been 3 actors that played Spider-Man. So like there's no excuse for them not. And they have 2. So they just need the 3rd one. Like there's clearly reasons for it. But I think maybe with this movie now and the hype just back on Spider-Man in general, maybe they'll kind of revisit more Spider-Man type things and maybe call back to some of the old stuff. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if they do that or not. But it's a character I think that's going to be super popular no matter what. And I'm sure they're going to continue to just, you know, we're still looking for more of the movie. So this movie itself, we got a few pops that came out before the movie came out. Pretty standard, you know, not to have any spoilers or anything. They came out with a few of them. But even when the actual villains were announced, which we knew specifically who like at least was going to be in the movie for sure, and they were on the posters and they were in this and this and that, so we still haven't seen those pops yet.
So we're getting those. I mean,
so they have to, and
that'll fulfill my wish.
For like not, that made sense for not to be like a spoiler if it wasn't announced. Yeah, of course, but it was announced. Like people knew that Green Goblin was in it. People knew Electro was in it. People knew Sam. Like you knew from the posters and stuff. Like you just knew there was a version of them. But if they do that, they're technically from the older movies. So I guess that would be a way of them still staying with the MCU now, kind of, but giving us that mold, I guess. Now, like I think it would still fulfill our like wish.
It'll fulfill mine.
In a way, right? It won't be like, oh, we still want some of the OG stuff, yeah, for sure. But at least it kind of builds a collection outside of just what they've been doing with
and they Spider-Man. Can really milk the villains in the new movie with chases or multiple molds. I mean, it's not a spoiler, but they all have had something that can make you have a chase or a different sort of costume, even just a No Way Home, which I'm going to go with. They'll probably milk that, or I'm sure we're going to get a No Way Home collector core box. I'm assuming. Okay. The next one hasn't been announced. The Disney Plus
just
one's
the Disney Plus
coming.
one's the next one. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Spider-Man. It's always had a Spider-Man one, so maybe that could be a pretty sweet box if you're a Spider-Man fan. That I would suggest picking up because I feel like there's going to be a cool pop in that.
Yeah, and hopefully it is, because we've talked about the collector's core series and how they've been lacking for the most part with like really exclusive stuff that really is like not just an extra throw in. And I feel like if they do that, hopefully it is one of those like where you're like, okay, that's a really cool version of this character, or maybe it's one of those villains that only comes out in that box.
Yeah.
Like that would be awesome, like that would be a cool way of getting it. But yeah, it's going to be something that I think I'm excited for. Hopefully they do drop it. I think there's plenty of pops that they can do just from No Way Home, like we just said, because of how many, these characters that they have in it. Obviously, there's a lot packed into the movie, so there's a lot that they can definitely do. I only have, I think, like I said, that 10-inch black and gold version of him, and then one of the integrate. I think I actually have the integrated one, the same one you were saying. No, I have the one where he's like with a like
the flying
suit,
one, which
flying
is
one,
normal suit.
Yeah, so that one I had from the No Way Home line is the only one I have. But other than that, I didn't have too many other ones. But Spider-Man pops in general, like you have most of them. You said I'm assuming you don't have those crazy grails, all right?
I don't. I wish I did,
Yeah.
but no.
Yeah,
I feel like I could have had the Electro one at the time, but like I hated that rendition, and I was just like, screw this pop, never knowing that it would have turned into what it did. But yeah, I have most of the MCU ones. I don't have them all because, especially Homecoming, I feel like there's just so many. And even with Far From Home, they made like the dumbest villains actually that were part of that one scene. Like I have the Mysterio ones, and the, how he had a stealth suit. I have that, and they've, one thing that Marvel and Disney's good at is they know how to make toys, and they make the slightest little change to the costume, and they make a pop for it. They've definitely done that with Tom Holland Spider-Man. So I try to get at least one of the looks.
Yeah, that's kind of like I would get one here and there. Just there was so many, and they would drop so many of them at once. I didn't really go crazy after them. But one of my favorite pops in general, and I had showed it off at one of the early episodes when we first started showing off some of our pops, was the one where he's in his yellow jacket.
Yeah, that one's awesome. I actually don't have that one,
dude. So I have that thing. I absolutely love it. It's amazing. That pop's like $50-$60 right now.
I know.
PVG, like it's crazy. And I'm sure the hype of Spider-Man movie and everything probably helped it as well, because I've seen some of those pop spikes, some kind of I've just sat around. But that's one of the ones I have up here where I don't have the box. So that it means really nothing. But I love that pop. It's such a cool pop. I mean, there's like so much detail on it, just because he has the headphones on, he's at the jacket. So that's a really cool one. But yeah, that's one of my favorite ones. I'm super happy though, at least I want to say something positive, and when it comes to Funko, is that they actually dropped this. So I do have this guy, so the Spider-Man soda. So I'm so happy that they finally dropped the Spider-Man soda. This one, of course, is literally specifically the No Way Home line, so it's like him in that same red and black suit that he has in No Way Home. And it kind of, it's still interesting why they haven't done Thor, but whatever reason, all Marvel has been MCU though when it comes to soda, except for the Thor. We've talked about it before, but yeah. So Spider-Man, I feel like, is one of those characters that, aside from MCU, should have always been one of their like main characters that they just pump out, and I feel like they just, I don't know. I love Tom Holland and I love the MCU version, but they can do other things, not just that. That's the
funny thing. One thing though that I wanted to just spitball, just things we would like to see Funko make, and I was thinking about this the other day, and I wanted to bring it up, is one thing I think they should be doing with the Marvel sodas is making a movie version, and then the chase could be the comic book version. So it's a true chase, not just, I do love the No Way Home chase, but we've talked about in the past, like some of them are completely random. Like even the Thor one, it was awesome that the chase is blacklight, but that was just, I felt like kind of random.
Yeah, it didn't fit him or anything.
Yeah, and like the Wando, like most of them have just been metallic or something really little. Like I think that's a good opportunity for them to start making both versions of the characters, and you could get them in soda form.
Yeah,
even if you started to make a Spider-Man line, like you could do, the Green Goblin movie version, comic book version. Like I don't know, I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think like when it comes to sodas, like obviously a very big soda collector, so I'm like, I love some stuff. I'm picky with other things. One of the things when it comes to Marvel, and we kind of talked about it, that for whatever reason, all the Marvel ones, they all have that very standard pose where they're not even doing anything animated at all. Spider-Man was one of the ones that, like, when I first saw that this was gonna drop, when they first announced it, the first thing I said was like, why is he standing there like he's in the military, like arms down, like he's Spider-Man? So like literally putting his hands out like this, like he's shooting a web right in front of him. He doesn't have to put his arm out far. He just has to put it in front of him. There's other sodas that they make with their hand, even a Deadpool soda. He at least has his thumbs up, right? Like his arms like this. And that was like a complete miss. Like it's Spider-Man. Like that is so much more of an iconic pose. But it makes you think like, are they all supposed to be this way? And then obviously Marvel in general has so many villains, but I started thinking about just Spider-Man. There is so many Marvel villains and specifically Spider-Man villains that they can make soda form that they haven't yet either. So because they've kind of just gone with the Avengers essentially is kind of like where their Marvel line is really been going. But I'm hoping that they make more of these, like some of the villains, like you said, Green Goblin is a huge villain, and Green Goblin is another pop that got very popular. And there's that one that's a grail, and they have like one that's more of like a common, but they are of course the comic book version. So if you see a Willem Dafoe pop like of Green Goblin, that thing's gonna be insane. Like there has to be one coming now with this new movie, at least because he's back in it. So like they could at least do one for this movie, and even if it's a common, I think it would be something that would be very popular. But yeah, there's a few. There's one Spider-Man pop though that is probably one besides obviously the grails, because I'm not even pretending I'm ever gonna get those. Is the blacklight one? I do want that one. Too. That's one that I unfortunately missed on when it dropped. That was part of that original wave that dropped when the first 4 dropped. Captain America, Iron Man.
It was the first, I think, T bundle too.
And then it was a T-shirt bundle which dropped like at the same time, essentially. Yeah, and that thing sold out so fast. I remember missing out on all of them, and luckily I was able to pick up the other 4 off of somebody, all like bundled together. They sold them to me, and never have been able to get the T bundle, and the price has really never gone down. So it's been pretty tough for me. That's like my one that I really want. Like I would want that more than even the Carnage, because Carnage is obviously sick too, but that's even more expensive. Like the Spider-Man one is probably the most one I would want as far as like pops that are out that I don't have yet.
It's funny because you took my choice, and it's fun. Like for people who know me, and I don't know if people have grasped this from the show yet, I'm definitely more of a collector out of just passion, and like it's my interest. I don't necessarily, it's cool when I have pops that are worth money, but I'm not just going after a grails, or I don't look at this as an investment where like the Carnage one, perfect example. Like I much rather have the Spider-Man one, even though it's not worth as much money. I tried to get that. I remember when that went for sale, and boom, sold out in seconds. Weirdly enough, and just listen to the podcast, I want the Andrew Garfield one, not because it's worth a lot of money. It's just because like I love that version of Spider-Man, and I just want that for my collection. It just happens to be old and it's turned into a grail. But yeah, I mean, the blacklight one is just so cool, and I love that he's posed in that too. It's not just him standing there.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, he's up. He's actually on like one of those acrylic stands. Kind of, it's almost very similar to the one that you showed off before, where he's kind of up and standing on one of those. Yeah. So I mean, Spider-Man is in so much motion, like like he moves around so much. There's so many ways that they can pose him. So I do like that they do that when it comes to his pops. But yeah, it's interesting. Is there anything you think that they need to make just based off of this movie? Not going with spoilers or anything, but just like, is it the villains?
I think the villains.
I think the Goblin and Octopus would be.
I also think there has to be an Aunt May pop. Like that's another character. Like why haven't we gotten one? I don't see Marissa Tomei saying she doesn't want a collectible made of her. So like I like when they make random characters like that. Like they should make them. Like there should be a Flash Thompson one. Yeah, Happy. They make one Happy one, and it's him holding the check. Which
I remember that.
I would like another Happy one though. I love Jon Favreau. I love that he's like had that character been consistent through the MCU. He definitely needs more. Yeah, but just like some of his friends, like yeah, I don't only just need the same ones over and over, but the
Yeah.
villains for me I mean, I don't know, but I'm gonna go with they're gonna let the movies stay for a little bit before they start dropping spoilers, and then we're gonna get those villains, I think, announced in a few weeks or the beginning of the new year.
Yeah, I was
There's
gonna
no
just
way.
say, when do you think that is? Yeah, because they have to. Because I mean, I get it; they're gonna wait a little bit, but I think some stuff that's at least like no spoilers. I think will come right away, but we might see a villain or two that we know is in the movie soon. Like they
I
might
think the
actually be
reason we
dropping soon.
don't have the villains yet is because I don't think I think the plan originally was to keep them a secret as well. And stuff was leaking, and they wanted to keep certain surprises. So it's like, okay, let's get everyone off our back with these leaks and let's show people that these villains are in the movie. So I think we're
Yeah,
going to go with kind of like a Grogu thing. They weren't making these pops into production yet, was because they didn't want it to leak. And I doubt they were like, okay, we're now making this part of our, promotional plan. We're letting the fans know it's going to be in the trailer. You can now make the pops. I'm sure Funko was told a date to make them. So they may even
yeah,
be, now that I'm saying this, more delayed than I would want them to, because they had no choice.
yeah. Hopefully not, because those would definitely be some that we for sure would want. But yeah, that's some. What's one of your favorite Spider-Man pops that you have?
I think probably my favorite one is from Endgame, and it's nothing special about it, but it's him in his iron spider suit with
Mm-hmm.
the claws out, and he's holding the gauntlet, like the one that Iron Man made.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just think that
Yeah,
one's
that one's
super
cool.
cool. um I would say that's probably my favorite one.
Yeah, that one I don't have. I have the regular um Iron Spider suit one that they dropped in the I
Hmm.
think Infinity War line or
Yep.
whatever. Yeah, I think that's the only one I have from like those movies. But yeah, mine is probably the one with the headphones. I love that one.
And I really like the 80th anniversary one. I'm really hoping
Yeah, I do have that one.
other Spider-Man
It's like a
products I want them
metallic
to
kind
make.
of too.
That's a Hot Topic exclusive one. I actually don't have that
Okay.
one.
So
They
I
made
have
just
that
a
one. I
non-metallic
have
one.
the yeah, I have the metallic one.
I think we need a Spider-Man comic cover of the
Yeah.
Amazing Spider-Man #1. I hope we get that. And I think he should be the next diecast. Now that we're talking about that, I
Yeah.
want a Spider-Man diecast. I think we'll get that.
That's true. We were talking about what we thought it was going to be or who, and he could be one. Yeah. If like they dropped to Marvel and then they went to a DC. So it's going to be interesting to see if they go back or what they're going to do with that, because we haven't really heard much. We've had those first three. I thought we would get one more before
Me
the new
too.
year
Yeah.
and nothing yet. So that's going to be interesting to see if maybe next year we start getting more of those. But yeah, Spider-Man would be. I mean, that'd be a sick one if they did him. It just would be interesting. Like, are they going to do a comic Spider-Man? Are they going to do Tom Holland like
I know. Well,
all
I
the
feel
other
like
ones? I feel like they would go with comic though, because that's kind of
me too.
well, no, actually,
Oh no, they've been the MCU
no.
ones.
Yeah, Iron Man is the MCU one. It's the Avengers actual one.
It's so funny
So they
because for a second
probably would go with that
I
one.
was like, yeah, the Iron Man one isn't, but yeah, it totally is. And
Yeah.
then the Batman one is movie version too. Is that the
No,
89
it's like
mold? It's not.
it's not. It's like that one standard mold that they make in the 18-inch too, where it's just like with the cape to the side. It's like the
Yeah, you're right.
Batman, just a very standard.
But I
And
just feel like it
then
looks like the 89
the Captain
suit,
America
right?
one is definitely the movie as
MCU.
well.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll get the Tom Holland version, which
That
I would
that one is
prefer.
specifically Civil War. That Captain America one says Civil
Yep.
War. And then the Avengers, Iron Man. The Iron Man one is just Avengers. So it's kind of like the OG. So yeah, they'll probably be like a Tom Holland version.
And because you lose like like the original Spider-Man ones of like the comic book, it's obviously the old school circle Funko eyes. I like the detail of the Spider-Man mask, like with its eyes. So I would definitely want it to be the movie version, though
Yeah.
it's obviously going to be if they make one.
Yeah, hopefully at that point. So it's interesting. We'll see what's going to be the next one. But yeah, make you guys, if you're watching, like comment down below, let us know what you think about Spider-Man and maybe some of your favorite Spider-Man pops or collectibles or anything like that. um I know we kind of went into like some stuff we wish was being made and things like that, but we don't want to get too into crazy spoilers because there's definitely some
Yeah.
stuff we want to be made if we really went hardcore with that. But I think within the next couple weeks, like Charlie said, once the hype kind of goes down again, where like now they can kind of show more stuff, I'm sure we'll see some more collectibles out there. But for sure we need some of those villains, and at least give us some of the OG stuff, because the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man is still iconic, and he has the Green Goblin and those people in there. So I mean, it might be their way out by making the villains that are in this new movie now to get those out there. But if that's the way we get them, at least we get them. So hopefully we see those. Anything else you wanted to add?
No, just I think the Spider-Man collection is obviously something that I'm really passionate about. That's why we're talking about it, of course, with the movie as well. But there's just so many different ones out there to get. But weirdly enough, there's just so many more that they could make. I don't think you could say that for a lot of the Marvel lines that they've made. I don't know if you agree with
Yeah.
that. It's just like it's a random thought, but they've made a lot, but they also have a lot of room to grow, which I don't think I can say that for most of the other movies.
Yeah, I agree. They definitely made a lot, but they probably made some that they could have not made and chose to make a different character, a different version, or something that I think would have hit a little bit better than some of the ones that they've kind of milked a little bit too much. But yeah, I completely agree with that. I mean, it's a character that's going to be around for a long time. Everyone loves him, kids love him. He's going to be around. So I'm glad that at least they have it. But it is actually, I want to touch on this. It's such a big character that they even made the meme into a pop.
They did. Yeah.
You remember that, right?
No, I
I
have
wanted
that
to
one.
bring that up because it's funny, because like that's how big of a character that thing blew. And Funko does pretty good with those, and the this is fine dog. Like they do, like
Yep.
they get one of those things that's super popular and they kind of go after it and use it. And that was one of them, was the 2-pack meme one. That's actually funny. But yeah, that's all our episode for today. So thank you for listening or watching. If you were listening, we really appreciate you guys so much for listening every week. Thank you so much. If you're watching, thank you for watching us here on YouTube. And if not, hopefully you are watching us here and you subscribe to our channel. So make sure that you do subscribe. We're getting close to 100. We've kind of been crawling our way there.
Come
We'll
on,
get
help
there,
us
but
get there.
help us get there. Let us, if you're not subscribed already, subscribe. And if you are subscribed, let other people know about our channel. Feel free to share it out to other people as well. Like this video as well to help us out, with our algorithm and everything, just kind of get more eyes and, people, listening to our episodes. We'll be out every week. We have Christmas coming up. So please, everyone be safe this holiday. Have a Merry Christmas and a great holiday with your family, friends, whatever you guys may do. Next week will be the last episode before the new year. And
Yep.
just to give you guys a little insight on that, we will be doing a recap, which we're really excited for, on the entire year of 2021 and kind of what to be made of 2022 and what we think, will be going on with Funko and things that we want to see. What do we think will be, most popular? And then some of our favorites from this year. We'll kind of go in depth with that. I think it'll be a really fun episode of us kind of, talking about that stuff before the new year. But yeah, other than that, Charlie, anything from you before we let them go?
Just happy holidays, everyone. Thank you for all the support. And yeah, like Meg said, make sure you smash that like button and, comment. We've been getting some good comments. Let us know, as we're deciding what we're going to talk about in the new year. Give us some topics in the comments. And yeah, we really appreciate everything. And can't believe it's been 15 episodes. And I hope, we're just going to keep going. So it's been great.
That's it.
All
All
right.
right, everybody.
Bye, everyone.